Welcome to For Good Measure, an interview series celebrating diverse composers and other creative artists. I'm Nanette McGuinness, Artistic Executive Director of Ensemble for these times. In this week's episode, we continue our conversation with Jennifer Higdon. I want to circle back to the piece with Ruth Bader Ginsburg's words for string quartet and narrator with Sigourney Weaver voicing the text.
Yes.
And I want to say that's just intensely cool right out there, okay?
Yeah.
So can you talk about how that project came about? And you've spoken a little bit about how it's different from writing your other vocal works, but if you want to talk more, you can.
Yeah, it came about, it sounds like it's a lot more complex than it was, and it's basically because the Pacifica Quartet were the ones who contacted me about it, and I've known those guys since 1997 when we were together at a festival in Utah.
Wow.
I think we were just out of school, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a newly formed quartet, and I was just getting started as a composer. So we've known each other a really long time. And they've recorded some of my music, but they just called and said, would you be interested in doing this? You know, we're going to do something with Sigourney Weaver. And I said, how the heck did you get Sigourney Weaver? And they were like, well, someone in the quartet knows someone who knows her. I said, really? And so I said, but her acting schedule, isn't this going to be a problem? And they were like, well, it seems like this should work. So they said, how about doing some texts on Ruth Bader Ginsburg? They also asked Gabriella Lena Frank, who's a fantastic composer, lives on the West Coast, to do, I think it was Rachel Carson, texts on Rachel Carson. So they asked us both to do this, and it was narration. And I have to admit, I've never done anything with narration. I've heard pieces narrated, but trying to figure out how to make obvious points where the narration could sit within the music and hopefully be cued okay, but we haven't had the performance yet, so I'm not absolutely sure it's all going to work, but you do have to think differently about narration. I mean, because the music has to be somewhat still. It cannot be overactive, and you've got to have the space for the text. So how do you make music that emphasizes what you've picked out to be spoken? And that actually, to me, was the harder thing, to be honest, was picking out the specific text, because she wrote so much stuff, both for speeches and then in court opinions and her beliefs. There was a ton of stuff to go through. I mean, it was amazing, but I also wanted references from family members explaining what a day in the life in a Supreme Court justice is like. So it's definitely was very challenging, and I don't know if it worked yet because we haven't had the performance. I'll get back to you on that.
I would love to hear that. Is it going to be recorded or live streamed?
Yeah,
I would love to hear it.
Actually, I think Pacific is planning on recording it. It's scheduled to be recorded right after we do the premiere, but weirdly, in some bizarre kind of coincidence, I'm running off to another premiere
That's because
recording.
No, that's because you're always running to premieres because you're in such demand.
Yeah, I think it may be just this spring is like something like I've never experienced before. It's 7 premieres in 4 months. So I know it's not really healthy, but composers never have a say on when these things are going up. And I don't know what happened. It was like a traffic jam of premieres. It's a good problem, but it's definitely testing my brain's ability to juggle a lot of things simultaneously.
It never rains, it only pours. And in this case, I think you have a hurricane, right?
Exactly.
Wow. I want to change subjects just a little bit, talking about too much going on. Several years ago, you lost your voice post-surgically, which must have been awful.
Oh, God, it was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, and thankfully, as we can hear, it proved to be temporary. Can you talk about that experience, and did not being able to speak affect how you felt about writing for voice or even writing music at all?
Oh, yeah. It was, I had thyroid surgery, and it wasn't, this is interesting. It wasn't, I had no cancer on my thyroid, but my thyroid had nodules for years. And they had been monitoring them for like 20 years. I would go in for like a needle biopsy and basically they would do an ultrasound on my throat. It sounds really strange. It was a pretty uncomfortable, but they could tell
I bet.
suddenly a couple of years ago that the nodules were growing, and it can throw off. It looked like the hormone numbers, because basically your thyroid controls the tempo of your body and how
Yeah.
it functions, and it really can affect your mood. They noticed the numbers were starting to go off, and they just decided to remove it. And
Mm.
it's a major surgery. But in my case, I had told the doctor, I said, "Look, I actually use my voice
Yeah.
quite a bit, you know." And he said, "Oh yeah, there are dangers with the voice." And I said, "Well, tell me what the dangers are." And he was good about explaining it. And I said, "Well, just know that this is serious. I'm not a singer, but I do often have to speak."
Yeah.
And so apparently they got into the surgery, and they have a small, tiny alarm that they put on the laryngeal nerve, which is the thing
Mm.
that helps you speak, basically. And part of the way through the procedure, the alarm went off.
Oh.
And so they stopped the surgery and brought in a vocal specialist in the surgical unit. And they were looking at it, and they decided that they should only remove half of my thyroid. It
Oh,
was a
wow.
really kind of a strange thing, because, and it took like 6 hours for them to do this. It was a longer than it should have been,
Hmm.
but they realized that they may have damaged the vocal cords. And sure enough, when I woke up, I had no voice. And
Oh. Oh.
it was, and it is a danger of any kind of thyroid
Yeah.
surgery. I mean, I've known people who've had this, and they never got their voice back, or the tenor of their voice changed.
Mm.
So what they ended up doing was only removing half of it, thinking that they might go back in and remove the other half. The really weird part of this is that normally in that instance, you have to go on some sort of medicine you take for the rest of your life to balance what the
Sure.
thyroid cannot make. But my thyroid numbers went back to normal.
Oh.
So they had never seen anything like it. But I didn't have my voice for like, it was 6 or 7 weeks, and it was hard. It was really hard. And the other weird aspect of this is I had an orchestra premiere, I
Mm.
think 3 weeks after the surgery.
Oh, wow.
And I know, again, something I didn't have any control over, but we had looked at my calendar to find basically a 5 week spot where I could have surgery and recover.
Ah.
Not, and I didn't think I was going to lose my voice, but it was a danger. But my schedule is always so busy that if I have any procedure done, I have to literally go through my calendar and book it 6 or 7 months in advance, where I can keep
Yeah.
basically things off of that time period, but give me enough time to recover.
Yeah.
So, but not having a voice for that time and going through the orchestra premiere was like impossible, because I was having to do everything with my
Oof.
hands, signing,
Oh.
like trying to emphasize simple things like down bows, and the conductor was not paying attention to what he was doing, and I could tell that the musicians are confused, but there was literally nothing I could do about it. There was just, and I
Oh.
realized I had to let it go and let them get through the thing. It was not a great performance, but it was frustrating. And I could tell people were concerned. It was really affecting my mood by the time we hit the third, fourth week, because they usually say if you hit 6 or 8 weeks and your voice has not come back, it's not coming back. That's what
Scary.
they tell
Scary.
you. And so, and people were so sweet. They kept saying to me, if you don't get your voice back, it's okay, because we understand you from your music. And I was thinking, that's not good enough. I have to be able to get in there and coach these things and ask people questions when I'm writing them pieces. But weirdly, it literally at the 6 week mark, it suddenly one evening, I felt something pop in my throat, and the sound started coming back. And it was the same sound. It was the same sound as my voice before.
Wow.
So
Lucky.
yeah. And I have to confess, the first time I talked to the doctor on the phone, they were so shocked that my voice had come back. That's when I learned that they thought it would not, they thought it was
Uh.
permanently gone. They were like, "Your voice." I'm like, "Yeah, it is my voice." They're like, "No, you don't understand." It's really, so it was kind of sweet. It was really, but what a headache. And I have to confess, I didn't think anything about setting text or anything.
Yeah.
However, when I was writing my first opera, which was before this operation, I would sing through all of the texts. I'm
Ah.
terrible at singing, but it helped me to write the music.
Yeah.
And so when when I started writing, after all of this happened and I was writing art songs, I suddenly realized I still am not really able to sing. My
Mm,
voice cracks at all kinds of
weird
weird
places.
places and it's
Yeah.
not consistent. And I just lose my voice. Really, I become so fatigued sometimes
Mm,
after a series of residency visits where I'm doing a lot of talking. So, but I value the voice. Let me just say, it's it's, it's nothing I take for granted. And even if the voice had stayed gone, I still would have written songs. I would have. I don't think it would have altered that. I would have had to just kind of alter the way I was thinking about it. So I'm glad I could try things out, even in a crackly voice. But it's
mm,
boy, you can't take that stuff for granted. It doesn't take much to throw the body, the brain off. It's like
yeah.
composing. You could throw your composing off too if you're not being careful about how you make the decisions in your life to write. I know a lot of people who wait to the summer to write and they struggle for 2 months trying to get back into the swing of it and they're getting ready to start school and they're in panic. So
Oh,
it's really so I like the fact that I write like pretty much every day. That's
yeah.
for me it kind of keeps everything working. But this was a good reminder that your body is a part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, I guess, well, first, it's a miracle and thank goodness and so
Yeah.
lucky that it happened. But it reminds me of what they say about writers. There's that saying that you have to sit down, and the best way to be a good
Yeah.
writer is sit in your chair and write every day. So,
And that's how inspiration, you sit down, the inspiration will show up if you're sitting down. If you're not sitting down working on it, the inspiration doesn't really show up. That's the thing. So the consistency, because in effect, you're still training your brain. Every time you sit down, it's just like a pianist
mm, mm-hmm,
practicing every day. We're
mm-hmm,
just doing it primarily in the brain, and it means that you're exercising your instrument, which is the
right.
thing of putting the notes on the page and thinking about text. And
Mm-hmm.
it's more important than people realize, the kind of stopping and going. I mean, I've seen this with students and colleagues. If they get jammed up and they can't write, they've got bigger problems getting back into it. So if
Mm-hmm.
you keep those muscles working all the time, it's probably pretty much like a voice. It's
Yeah,
really it everything just flows much easier. So and it continues to grow, I think, because I never really stop writing. I haven't had creative blocks. I think it's because I'm just always writing.
makes sense. And maybe because you're just a really creative person, okay?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that's true. I guess so. I
But
definitely need it though. It keeps my sanity intact.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And and for the young and emerging composers who are listening, that's really good advice.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the more you can write, the quicker you can find your own personal voice as a composer.
Yeah. In today's composition, where one can go in so many different directions and the palette that one has available of
Is
all the
huge.
centers. Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
don't have your own voice, you're not gonna you're not going to sound like you and make yourself heard above the noise.
Right. And that honestly, this is the number one question I get from young composers. How do I find my personal voice? The trick is
Hmm.
just to keep writing because usually composers, when they're starting out, their music sounds like some other composer that they admire.
Yeah.
And it's not until you've gotten that out of your system, you keep writing, that your own characteristics, your own choices start to become a consistent thing.
Mm.
And that's what will become your voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you for listening to For Good Measure, and a special thank you to our guest, Jennifer Higdon, for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast by clicking on the subscribe button and support us by sharing it with your friends, posting about it on social media, and leaving us a rating and a review. To learn more about E4TT, our concert season online and in the Bay Area, or to make a tax-deductible donation, please visit us at www.e4tt.org. This podcast is made possible by grants from the California Arts Council, the San Francisco Arts Commission, Grants for the Arts, and generous donors like you. For Good Measure is produced by Nanette McGuinness and Ensemble for These Times and designed by Brennan Stokes, with special thanks to co-producer and audio engineer Stephanie M. Neumann. Remember to keep supporting equity in the arts and tune in next week for Good Measure.